What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Conversation with Detir, where we talk about life and how your mindset affects it all. So, tonight I want to talk about standards. And I want to talk about standards you have for other people versus the standards that you have for yourself. And the standards that you don't live by. Because I feel like a lot of times when it comes to life, when we're going through life, we don't have a barometer of something that we're living off of to be able to determine what we're doing in life. I've noticed, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I've noticed so many people going through life as if they're free falling, still with the immature, childish type mindset, with no real thought towards what they're doing, where they're going, how they're going to get there when it comes to career, when it comes to finances, when it comes to relationships. So I feel like there's a deep like misconnection, with people in life in like multiple areas. It's like the communication style, the way we communicate, like none of this stuff is like prevalent in our day to day like communities. So when it comes to standards, it's like no one is living from a standard. It's like you do whatever you want to do, and it's like there's no one to really grab you by your coattail and say, "Man, why you moving like that?" Because people say, "Hey, that's how that person is. That's how that person is." But when you start thinking about the the world you live in, a lot of people don't like the world that we live in, but yet we create that as people. And this goes hand in hand with my circle is small because why people don't trust people that's around them, family, friends, whoever. So there's so many things that's going wrong, but it's like, what do we need to do to correct some of these things? And I feel like these things have to do with standards, our principles, our morals, or what you value. So then that goes into how a person will put a certain standard on you, but then when it comes to them reciprocating that same standard, they don't have that for themselves. Now we know we live in a world full of double standards, in the world. But I have a question for the people, and it's like, how do you look at someone and want someone to live a certain type of life? You want them to be a certain type of person, certain type of characteristics, personality, position, status, or whatever. But then when you put that mirror back on yourself, you do not resemble that. You are not what you're looking for in return. A lot of times people look for things in people that they cannot give back. They can't reciprocate. So it's like, what is that? So I wanted to make that video to see, am I the only one that's having these thoughts about people setting standards for other people that they cannot live up to? And when it comes to people even having standards for themselves in their day to day life, people can move. Like I was having a conversation with one of my partners, and I was telling him how serious I am about like lying, to be able to trust somebody and people to be honest. Like that's number one on the non-negotiable list. But that's just not for dating. That's for people in general. Like I don't like it. I take it very serious. But because we don't live by a certain standard, people can say stuff that they don't mean or not really be um, as accurate with how they say things, how they move, and so forth. So I'm gonna give you an example. So for me, if I ask you where you at, and you say I'm down the street, we're supposed to be leaving at 4 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock, and I call, hey, where you at? You say I'm down the street, but you really at the house. That irks me, and the reason why is because you're lying, and you're lying about something so small, but a person is looking at that as it's so small. So what's the big deal? When I'm trying to figure out why can't you just say that I'm at home still, I'm running late. But people get so used to doing these little things that it becomes very common that people lie about so much unconsciously. It just happens. People just do it. They just lie. I mean, it's like, why are you lying about that? And I feel like that these things cross over to so many different areas of, your life. To some people, like, oh man, that's too serious, that's too deep. But to me, it's like, what's the reason to lie about it? If I'm running late, I'm gonna say, hey, I'm running late. Not only am I still at the house, I'm gonna probably be here for the next 15, 20 minutes. Hey, y'all go ahead. Because why? I'm also trying to be considerate of someone else's time, and that I'm not keeping y'all waiting because I'm saying I'm right down the street. So say, hey, he said he right down the street, so probably like 5 minutes away or so. 5 minutes come, 10 minutes come, and I'm still at the house. So for one, that's inconsiderate. For two, that's being dishonest, just tell the truth. So stuff like that. So I feel like that this happens in multiple areas of life to where a person is not held accountable for what they say, what they do, and how they move, and everybody just feel like this is so natural, like this is so common, and this stuff starts to run over. I feel like in different parts of a person's character is that you don't live from a certain standard. Like, be who you say you are. So I wanted to put this video out real quick and just try to get people's mindsets and thoughts on what do you feel about how people look at someone else wanting them to live to a certain standard, but then when it comes to themselves, they don't live to that standard. And um, you not living life from standards from principles. So how do you actually go through your life and progress and get better if you don't even have a measuring rod to see where that's from? Some people might feel like that that's too calculated and that's too much thought that's given into it. But it's like my mind is always thinking about how can I become better? What am I doing to become better? And what am I not doing? At the end of my day now, because I learned this from listening to someone else that said, what went well today and what went wrong? Trying to analyze your day to try to figure out how do I get in a better position? How do I become a better person? And you have to have something that you're living from, some type of principle that you are practicing, some type of habit that you're creating to make sure that you're in this position. So anyway, y'all, that's been my time. It's one love from me to you. Remember that it's progress, not perfection. You rest in the end, not the middle. Till next time.